Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Space Tech Podcast, the only podcast where you get a comprehensive discussion of the latest in the world of technology and hot topics in the tech ecosystem in Kenya and in Africa. Today, we want to talk about something very interesting, and that is whether all the efforts that are being put in bridging the gender gap in technology are working. Okay, so are the women-centric tech programs working? And what is the impact of such programs so far? So we have Akira Chicks, we have She Code Africa, we have so many others that are focused on, bridging the gender gap in the tech world. So what more can be done to bridge the gender gap in tech and get more women into tech programs? So with me on studio, as usual, is my co-host, Merlyn Mayenga. Merlyn, introduce yourself.
Hi. Thank you, Fred. And so today we have a very interesting topic because, next week is International Women's Day. And yes, I feel like there's still a lot to be done in that space as far as diversity is concerned. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to ask you straight away, Mal.
Mm-hmm.
This is a discussion that we have had with you before,
Yeah.
just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask you now, for the sake of the audience, just to lay down your points as clearly as possible. Why? Yeah, from the horse's mouth, where you think the technology, the tech industry is. Let's just concentrate on the 254. All right,
Mm,
where the tech industry is in terms of gender, in terms of gender balance.
yeah.
Are we achieving gender parity in tech? No. That's my first question. Are we on that road to achieving gender parity in tech? Do you envision a place where our efforts have borne fruit, and
Mm,
when you walk into a company, you have an equal number of women and men
yeah.
who are software engineers, who are
Mm,
designers, who are
mm.
product managers?
I think yes, we are definitely as long as conversations along those lines have begun, then I think we are on the road to achieving it one day. You know, in a world where equity can be achieved, we are definitely one step closer to achieving that goal. So yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
All right. Okay. The way this the reason why this topic is interesting to me as a techie
Mm-hmm.
is that there's countless times where you will log onto the TL and you're scrolling, and some stray tweet will just appear that, oh,
On
tech
on
bros
your feet.
this, tech
Yeah.
sees is this,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden a swarm of tweets
Mm,
will come in the comments, and people have varied opinions about this.
yeah.
And one of the arguments is that we are actually achieving this, and this even spills over. I think the discussion comes from this word, this
Mm-hmm.
phrase, that is the girl child empowerment. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's a section of people who are feeling like, what, the girl child. I mean, we have overemphasized this
It's
thing.
too much.
Yeah, it's too much. It has gotten to the point where the kind of the scales are now tipping towards the girl child, and kind of the boy child is now starting to feel disadvantaged. Okay, and so
Right.
when you think about the tech ecosystem, for instance, and particularly when it comes to training,
Mhm.
um, you find that there's a lot of there's a lot of you know training programs, or curriculums, training programs, let me call them, that are solely focused on women, and in fact there's even multiple, many communities that are just dedicated to women. So when you think about them, there's Akira Chicks, there's
Yeah.
She Code
She
Africa, which is
codes.
like the biggest. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's which other ones?
There's so many now.
Yeah,
They
there's
just
so many.
kept me. Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah, yeah, and in fact, the good thing is that ALX is kind of registering an all women cohort this March.
Right.
So right now there's a link. There's a link where women, only women are encouraged to apply through
To
that. So
apply.
there's going to be a cohort that is dedicated to women only
Mm.
at LX. But my question
Mhm.
is despite all these efforts that are going on, are they working? Are they working? Because and you kind of scan the tech ecosystem, and you get to know like what is the impact of these programs. Are we seeing more women join tech just because the spotlight is on them, or there are some other challenges or some other roadblocks on the path of women that are still preventing them from joining tech and thriving in tech despite this spotlight that is and these advantages that are kind of being thrown at them.
That is I think that is a two-sided sword. It's like yes, there is improvement in that sector of being inclusive as far as gender in the tech space is concerned. And no, because uh, if I'm being honest, the inclusiveness of women, or the gender inclusivity in the tech space is a two-sided sword. Yeah, yes, there has been miles, uh, things that have been done to make the spaces more inclusive to women, but I think those spaces are still very, they're not many, or they're not very far widespread. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
uh I believe, just from, if I go back home, where I come from,
Yeah.
if I go Ushago, yeah,
Yeah.
these things that we discuss here, maybe more in the more urban setups, those women don't get to hear a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those women, there's that dream, the dream of telling them, yes, you can achieve this, even them hearing
Yeah.
of women, oh, she's an engineer, that seems like such a far-fetched idea to them,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like they've been conditioned to think a certain way. it's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not common for them to see women in certain spaces. So I think there's still a lot that needs to be done as far as inclusivity is concerned. I will not get into the statistics of, this number of girls get to join school from this age. Yeah, there's a lot of challenges that, because this is a gender conversation, that
Yeah.
women still go through as far as access to education is concerned, sanitary towels, teenage pregnancies. Yeah, so it's still a long road away from home in that.
I agree with you. When okay, being a man,
Mm-hmm.
when this discussion comes up about gender equality, about women, girl child empowerment and all,
Yeah, yeah.
I think first of all it takes me back to the reality that
Mm.
first of all I have sisters, right?
Yes, you
And
do.
then yeah, I have sisters, I have friends who are women. I have like women surrounds us. My mother is a woman.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Yeah,
Okay, so and then like I've said, you think back to your village, like
yeah.
and you really start to see that the conversations that we are having about
The-
gender parity in tech.
they're
um,
limited to a certain area. Yeah,
yes, yeah,
yeah.
they're mostly the discussions are mostly when people are talking about gender parity. I think they apply this topic most of the time. I mean, this line of thinking to urban areas where
Urban areas.
the opportunities for education uh,
Mm,
are kind of equal for everybody, for
exactly. Yes.
men and women.
Yeah.
But when you think about the kind of life that women live in the rural areas and how
Outside the outskirts of the Nairobi and all these big
and
cities.
how severely skewed it is towards men. Like success is heavily skewed towards men, such that
Yeah.
when you talk about things like teenage pregnancies,
Mm.
like when you talk about early
FGM.
marriages,
early
yeah,
marriages.
FGM. I think there's still a lot of things to do. I was impressed by the story of you remember the CNN heroes. You remember
Oh,
the
the
story of the
lady,
CNN?
tech
Yes,
the tech
yeah,
lead program.
the
Yes,
tech founder,
yeah,
the CEO.
yeah.
I wonder if one day we can get hold of her so that
Ooh, now she's a big
yeah.
shot, but we can try.
Yeah, I know. I know, but I think there's still a lot of hurdles or a lot of challenges on the path of women towards not just in tech but gender parity in the workplace. Okay, but since we are concentrated in tech, I think first of all we need to define what it means to be a woman in tech actually. And you're a woman in tech, so those people don't know Mal. Mal, you didn't even introduce yourself properly and where you work and what you do.
On.
So what
Yeah.
does it yes, what does it mean to be a woman in tech, for you?
I will not. I haven't faced a lot. I'm lucky to be in a space that encourages me to aspire for more and go for what I want as far as my work or my place of work is concerned. And I don't. I focusing on just me really would, I feel like, would silence maybe other people's voices if I decide to say, oh, it has been easy on my end. It has been easy
Hmm,
without the one, two, three, problems you can. There are problems that you can actually get over. It's not difficult, but I think there's still a lot to be done to be inclusive in that space. There's a lot of stereotypes and especially the stereotypes that has I've not been able to escape that as far as the space is concerned, owing to the fact that this is a mostly male dominated field. Being stereotyped is very easy. The other day I was creating something for my aunt, and she
hmm,
needed something. She's an evangelist, so she needed a website to be set up for her. And so one day we are working together, and she meets one of her friends, and so they start to have a conversation, and she's telling the friend, oh yeah, the website is going on easy, and this is my niece, she's making it for us. And how that conversation went from there on was very interesting. So the friend says, oh my god, yeah, she's a lady. It's really nice to see women do stuff like this. And for me that looks like, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, this is not a hard thing to do, but the fact that they were just happy that a lady was doing it, it really gives you that perspective of, oh,
hmm.
these are not people who are used to seeing women in such spaces. So yeah, it's interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah, true. And I think digging deeper onto this topic, it would be unfair for us not to discuss some of the reasons, because the statistics are out there.
Hmm.
For example, I was reading an article before we
Mm.
got into this discussion
Yeah.
about the representation of women in tech, and
Yeah.
it says that as low as 15% of workers in the tech industry are women.
Women, yes.
So it is that low. So you find that 85%
A
of
male,
are male,
despite
and
all
then
the programs that are
yeah,
out there. Yeah.
and that is in the whole industry of engineering. So when you
Mm.
think about all areas of engineering, so something that has an engineering before it,
Mm.
but when it comes specifically to computer science and computer technologies, it is only 25%, and that has remained unchanged
Wow.
since 2016. So the reason, I think the gist of the conversation needs to be why, why is that, um, uh, why is the gender representation that low? So from the why question, now you can start to dig and kind of come up with solutions. And I think uh, programs like ALX are doing such an amazing thing. I never knew. I don't know whether they just started it recently or they have been doing it, but I think it is one of the most noble things, that they could have done, and we are going to kind of evaluate and assess whether it's working.
Yeah.
Whether availing a women only cohort is really
Mm.
working or it's not working. But according to the article, there are like four main reasons why that gender gap remains to be large, and I think one of them is very obvious, that the higher education gap between men and women is still gaping. And when you even think about it, in Kenya, but I think Kenya, we have made strides when it comes to women, the enrollment of women in high schools, in higher
Mm.
education. But when you're talking about higher education, like really higher education,
Like
when
in
like
my class,
college and beyond, yeah,
yeah, in
yeah,
my
college
class,
and yes,
uh-huh.
yeah,
In my computer science class when I was in university, out of I think a class of when we were starting out of a class
mm,
of 100,
yeah,
I think we were 100. The girls didn't even make half of that class.
wow,
Yeah, it was like I think 30 out of
yeah,
the possible
30,
100. Yeah, 30
mm,
girls out of the possible 100. Proud to say that most of us actually did graduate from the
mm,
class.
mm,
Yeah, good, good. Actually, the first class students in my year were ladies. So yeah, that I think that is something that needs to be commended. In as much as there's still the bias, the ones who are in the field, uh, they uh, they're beacons of hope for
mm,
generation
mm.
that is coming behind us. Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, just still on. Okay, my question would be,
Mm-hmm.
right from high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you choose careers, like
Yeah.
in Kenya, you choose careers when you're still in high school,
Before, yeah,
like
before you do
degree programs, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So how does it come that only 30% of a class of 100 are women? Like, what are some of the contributing factors, do you think, which contribute to the fact that is it that women don't like hard things?
That would be such a bad stereotype. Of course not.
Okay, enlighten us. What is happening? Because up to that point, if like, would it boil down now to qualification? Which I don't think is true, because when I looked at the stats for the last
Exam class.
KCC
Yeah,
results,
yeah.
women actually performed as well as the men did, right?
Yes.
So why is it ending up that only 30% of a class of 100 in a CS degree class is women? What are the contributing factors then?
I think the first one is just something you have mentioned right now, the
Mm,
stereotypes.
yeah.
You know,
Mm,
it is assumed that women are not interested in these technical fields.
mhm. In STEM, yeah.
So yeah, in STEM,
Mm.
it's assumed that I what to
Nyinyi ni watu
HR.
wa HR.
HR. Kwanza hiyo ya HR.
HR
HR.
na water
Oh
bottles.
Lord. So I
HR,
don't think
cooking. Yeah,
a lot of support and
yeah,
encouragement is given to
mhm,
women who are interested in pursuing those particular careers in tech.
yeah,
And then I believe it's also a lack of role models or
yeah,
representation,
yeah, role models.
right?
Uh-huh.
The women or the ladies that I knew from that in STEM,
Mhm.
I was lucky to go to a good school that really
Yeah.
encouraged, women
Sema
of
tu ni
power.
Bush. It was
Yes,
Bush
I
Alliance.
was at Alliance, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was trying to be humble, but
Mm,
yes, I was in a school that really, and we are women of power. Yes, you will achieve what you want to achieve. So
mm,
the dreams we were not scared of not soaring to such heights.
mhm,
But I'm not sure that can be said for most girls' schools in the country, or
mm,
just in Africa. If we are going fine beyond, I believe that if we saw more women in these fields, or more women who spoke up on what they do, and I think it would encourage more of us to get into such fields. I started seeing more women in the field in computer
Mm.
science
Mhm.
when I was in campus.
Yeah.
That is when I started seeing more women. People I would look up to. One of my
Yeah.
lecturers who I like to mention, but I won't in this episode. But you see women, somebody's gone to MIT. You're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is
Mhm.
actually possible.
Yeah.
So I think the lack of also role models you can see from a young age is also something. In my entire childhood, I never saw somebody from my town who was an
Mhm.
engineer, a woman. I never had any
Which town?
we will not get into the specifics of which one, but I was
Me,
not
I'll just
raised in
snitch.
Nairobi.
Me, I'll just snitch. But
I was not raised in Nairobi, so in the other towns,
yeah.
I really didn't grow up with that. Women can do it. There are
No,
many
the
engineers
audience
I
needs to
could.
know Mal was actually
They
raised in
don't.
Homa Bay.
Anyway, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
start I
What you're
started
saying
seeing
is
that
yeah.
when I went to campus. Vile
Yeah.
nilikuja Nairobi. So yeah.
What you're saying is actually true
Yeah.
because yeah, yeah, the leadership gap between men and women, I
Mm,
think, is one of the most significant contributing factors for why the parity
mm,
is low.
yeah.
And for example, just off of my head,
Mm-hmm.
if I can count the number of women inventors or startup founders who are in tech, like who are leading big companies around
I like
the
the
world.
the one
Who are
for the
they?
ABC Microsoft. She's
Yeah.
one of yeah. I look up to her. So yeah, you look at
No,
such
no, no, but I'm talking about startup founders, like the
women.
startups that have gone to become big companies, which
Mm.
are purely women led and
I
women
cannot
in.
think of any from the top of my head actually.
Yeah, but they're there. But for men, you find that there's Bill Gates, there's Larison,
Yeah,
and,
Zuckerberg, Musk,
Zuckerberg, there's
yeah, Tim
the
Cook.
Tim Cook. Like there's so many examples, and um, it really boils down to that mentorship aspect because you become what you behold, right?
True.
So yeah, I think also studies have shown that there are fewer female leaders and women on the board of directors in the tech industry. Yeah,
That is true.
yeah, and when you think about it, like the contact
Mm.
that you had,
Yeah,
it played a role between the women that were in the industry that came to talk to you, the girls,
yeah,
and it contributed to what you have become now as a woman in tech.
exactly.
And yeah, so that is a contributing factor. So another factor that you know came out when I was doing the research
Mm-hmm.
was the pay gap between men and women in technology. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know how the status of the industry right now in terms of pay,
Mm-hmm.
but why would women be paid less? I mean, for doing the same job, is it still happening, or mhm. I know it happens in sports, like women footballers. Women footballers are
Are
paid
paid
like
less?
like peanuts. I mean, when it comes when it compared to men, and the argument, being a sports fan, the argument that is given,
It's
I
sort of
really support.
interesting.
It is always true.
What is true
The argument that the argument for paying women less in sports
is
is that women's sports, eh, they're meh. Like okay, nah, nah. Like the women play well. They play well. We accept they play well.
right.
Uh, but nobody watches them. I mean,
Exactly. Nobody,
and the money, yeah, and the money follows. Sports is earns its revenue from advertisement. So
Mm-hmm.
if
They do.
advertisers are following the fans where the
Yeah.
fans are, you only deserve to pay the players and the actors in that industry, right? But we are not talking about the sports industry. We're talking
Yeah, we're
about the
talking
tech
about the
industry.
tech. Yeah.
Yeah, and research is showing that about in the median earnings of women in STEM occupations, for instance, is about like 74%. So for every $1 that a man earns, a woman is earning 74 cents,
Mm.
in the same
In the
capacity,
same job
yeah.
capacity. Mm.
So the discrepancy becomes even wider when it comes to women of color, so
Yeah.
Africans, Latino,
Yeah.
and these wage gaps are kind of discouraging, and it makes it difficult for women to advance in their careers
Mm.
and as well as men are earning. So and sometimes I think it's true even in Kenya. Like it's been a while since, I don't know whether it's the girls who don't brag, but I
Yeah, I think
see.
I would
Don't
like
you
to
see?
know.
Yeah, don't you see that it is the men who are showing off Audis
Mm, I feel like
and
women are not also as loud with
uh-huh,
stuff like that, so
yeah,
it becomes really difficult. Most women are not like that unless influencers and all that,
uh,
but women in these spaces, tech, they are not as loud about what they know, what they do,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
how
yeah,
much they're worth, quote
yeah,
unquote.
uh-huh,
It's also an ego thing, but
yeah,
yeah, they're not really loud about, yes, I make 400K. There was actually
uh,
a trend the other day, I
uh-huh,
think a year or two ago, about how much do you make? I'm
yeah,
not sure if you saw it. It was
yeah. I
actually
saw it.
a Kenyan tech bro thing. I
Yeah,
did not see one lady,
uh-huh,
one who was, and I know a couple who work at Microsoft. I know a couple who have the senior engineer. None of them was, yeah, I make 1 million per month. I did not see that. Most of them were gents,
uh-huh,
and I can't really speak on the gender parity or the gender pay gap
uh-huh,
in Kenya. I'd like to hope that we are more open
yeah,
minded in that than maybe the rest of the world,
mm,
for various reasons. But I have not. That's not to mean it's not there. But yeah, I've not seen a lot of that,
yeah,
especially.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the research is showing that women are actually earning less,
Yes.
and I think one of the things that is perpetuating this culture is, companies actually actively discourage employees from disclosing their pay to
Mm-hmm.
fellow employees.
Yeah.
So you could be sitting there with your male colleague, like you are in the same role.
Mm.
You do identical jobs,
Yeah.
but they won't ever tell you how much they
How
earn.
much
And
they
when
pay.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
and when you finally discover how much they earn, it will be significantly higher,
Yeah.
than what you are earning.
I was reading one
Mm,
of the reasons why there's like a gender
mm,
gap is because of lack of negotiation skills. It said that women are less likely to negotiate their salaries than men. They don't have the
mhm.
audacity like
Yeah,
men to to negotiate their
to
salaries.
negotiate higher
So
salaries. Yeah,
yeah, so that is also could be a reason why that gender gap is that big. And also there's also the issue of unconscious bias.
yeah,
Unconscious bias is that when you're doing a hire for a position,
mhm.
the mostly unconsciously, you will be thinking a man will fill in that
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
You will there's the bias that most likely if you get somebody for the job, it's going to be a man,
yeah.
right? So that unconscious bias also incorporates or results into most women being overlooked for jobs. Hence, when they get there, maybe the experience is not as much as maybe their male counterparts.
And what about this this perspective that well, you have spoken a little about it, that
Mm.
consciousness bias,
Yeah.
that you're more likely to think that you're going to hire a man for a role.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it being fed by the fact that a lot of the candidates that will feel that they actually qualify for that job
Amen.
are men? Yeah. So I don't know whether there's that also, that consciousness bias when it comes to thinking about abilities. Like somebody would just for some reason think that a man would make a better engineer or a better software
Mm,
developer than a woman, so
true.
that you'd just doubt, like, if even if a woman presented her portfolio
You,
projects,
you
and then you
don't
compare.
believe she's
Yeah,
as qualified.
yeah, she is as qualified as her male counterparts, and
Mhm.
I think this is something that is true,
I
because
actually, yeah, I actually experienced it when I did a post for, like, when I graduated from school. I did a post on
uh,
Twitter,
uh,
and a couple of guys under the
uh,
tweet were like, "I am sure you cannot even change your, like, your operating system on your computer." You know, like, who told them I cannot? Who said that? And you remember the story I was telling you about my classmate who was like, "Do
yeah,
you know what VS Code is?" Come
yeah,
on, things like that go into feeding the bias that maybe she's not as qualified as if I would have
yeah.
hired a man,
Mm.
Yeah. There's just the notion that, yeah, maybe a Duke center div, they don't know what center.
Maybe it's just coming from the fact that men, we always think that women are softies, like you're not used to
Inferior.
suffering. Yeah, you're not used to
Hmm.
suffering through sleepless nights trying to
What
debug
the,
your code. I
Women
mean,
are the most
you're
superpower
after the soft
people,
life, huh?
Come on. Women have
Mm,
done some of the most work as far as sacrifice is concerned. Look at
mhm.
children. Look at raising a kid, all those sleepless nights.
Yeah,
So why can't that transfer transfer to the
yeah, a
job?
tech
What?
career. Mm,
Yes. Why would you think they can't do as much for their role or a position? And this is not to glorify working long hours at work, but I
mm,
believe it, if it's up to uh, sacrificing hours for the work, that is mostly just a human, a human thing. It's not really a gender thing.
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
it shouldn't be a gender thing.
mm.
It's just a human. How much do I want to give for this? How important is this for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switching gears a bit now to some of the ways that the industry is responding to this gap,
Mm,
the gender gap in tech.
mm-hmm.
Some of the ways that programs, organizations, governments are doing, some of the things that they're doing to ensure that this gap is closed.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to, and whether these efforts are working.
Mm.
No, so I listened to, I love Jordan Patterson. Jordan Patterson.
Oh, yes, I like listening to Jordan Peterson so
Yeah,
much.
there's an argument that he was making,
Mm-hmm.
when he was talking about some of affirmative action, especially
Yeah.
affirmative action that targets women.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that people are doing, like now, what Alex is doing to enroll more women into tech, and he was
Right.
kind of evaluating the success of such things,
Mm-hmm.
and whether they're really working. And his argument was
Mm.
that there should be equity. There should be equity in opportunity.
Right.
You know, yeah. I don't know what he was comparing it to, but his argument was that you know equity can only be achieved once people are given equal opportunity,
That
right?
is true. Yes.
Yeah. So and I found that's very interesting, because you see, when for example, we have like Akira Chicks, and then we have She Code Africa,
Mm.
and you wonder whether if we admit only women into a
Right.
program, like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
does it make them become better, you know does it increase only the does it increase the opportunity, or what is the impact of such programs like LX admitting an all women cohort? So are we trying to say that, for example, if the normal cohort that admits both women and men is
Mm-hmm.
open,
Mm.
then it means that only more men are going to apply to those opportunities compared to women, and then we end up with a class where it is overwhelmingly men and underwhelmingly women.
Mm.
And are we saying then that we need to separate registrations, and we need to separate trainings, we need to separate such things, so that we have women only programs, women only trainings, women only roles? Because I can see also employers
Mm.
sometimes saying women are encouraged to apply. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
women are encouraged to apply, and then they really do. They really go overboard to try and hire women for some of those roles. So
Yeah.
Are some of these initiatives working in your opinion?
I think it's not an issue of the quality. If you get more women for a cohort, then uh, the chances of them succeeding is more. It's mostly about, if you give women a higher chance,
Mm-hmm.
then there is a possibility that you will be able to convert
Yeah,
more
yeah.
women
Mm-hmm.
into, if it's tech, if it's a job opportunity. Example, at where I work, we have a community program called Natujenge,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm the community manager for this program. And when we do boot camps,
Mm-hmm.
we get over 200 applications. I can
Yeah.
assure you less than 50% of these applications are ladies. And
Mm-hmm.
even when we try to really admit more ladies, not a
Mm-hmm.
bias towards, removing guys so that we have more. It's an open, we don't, there's no cap to how many people can be sometimes, because most people drop out anywhere along the way. And we try to really put in ladies into the boot camp, give them projects. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
even when you do that, there's still a very, out of 70 people who will be in that boot camp, because it's a small thing.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be There'll be like five ladies
Yeah.
in the program,
Mm-hmm.
and some of two or three are not active
Mm-hmm.
as some of the gents, but it's still very difficult converting or spreading and getting women to be inclusive in such things.
Mm-hmm.
So when they say this is a women's only role, it's not a sort of a special kind of treatment. It's
Mm-hmm.
just trying to get women more seats at the table,
Yeah, yeah,
in a
yeah,
table
exactly.
that already 75% are men. You're just
Mm-hmm.
trying to include a woman's voice there, include a woman's experience. It's not really about preferential treatment. It's just, let's create space for, another different perspective, another different voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to what Jordan Patterson said,
Mm.
his argument was that the reason why you find that there are less women in some careers, like for example, engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, like
Yeah.
STEM. Let's just talk about
STEM in
STEM in
general.
general. Yeah,
Yeah.
is that STEM is intensive. I mean, even coding is
True.
intensive. It is
Very
really
true.
tasking on the brain.
Yes.
Uh, to become a good engineer at the end. And
Mm.
women can do it, and they succeed even in being marine engineers. But the argument that Patterson is forwarding is that there are some such careers,
Mm-hmm.
especially in term that requires maybe physical strength.
Great.
Um, if for example you are recruiting people to work in a mine, almost 100%, you'd find that it's the men who are going to turn up for such a job. Okay,
Yeah,
so I don't know whether
naturally.
yeah,
That is just maybe mostly a biological thing. Kama ukienda
yeah,
mjengo,
yeah,
most of them are
mjengo,
guys.
yeah, most
Women's
of them are
bodies
gay.
are not really built for such tasking
Yeah.
uh, jobs. Yeah.
Mhm. And you see, that's why we one of the ways that you close the gender gap in
Mm,
tech
mm,
is actually start by encouraging women to pursue a career in tech. Okay,
exactly.
and
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 give them
and
the
it yeah,
opportunity to do that.
yeah, it starts with supporting the support of technical women in their
Mm,
pursuit of a STEM career,
mm,
and going back to the roots and convincing these women that, you know what, as in software engineering has been male dominated and people think that women cannot succeed in this field,
yeah.
but more and use case studies of more and more women who are succeeding in
Mm,
that career. So it doesn't rubbish away the fact that it is still intensive. And
yeah.
I don't know whether women tend to shy away from things which are intensive, especially when it comes to
No,
career, things which are involving.
that's a horrible stereotype. Don't, please don't say it
Yeah,
again. We are here. I am an example that we are not scared
Yes,
of
yes,
the hard stuff. We can actually
yeah,
do the hard stuff. And I have friends who also have graduated from my class. So that already trumps the
mhm,
idea that women are scared of hard stuff. There are people who have done it, are still doing it, PhD in
yeah.
computer science. Quite a
Uh-huh.
number of people I know. So that is not true.
Yeah, so encouraging. So for someone like you, I don't know how many women that you've encouraged so far to even join the join
In
the
my
LX
village,
program.
I'm doing the work. Trust me, I am doing the work in my village.
Yeah, women for women, women
Yeah.
for women. You need to encourage each other to join.
Yeah.
The tech. And one of the things that we also spoke about is the mentorship
Mm,
for women in tech. I
yeah.
think mentorship in general is working.
Mm-hmm.
But when mentorship is kind of is kind of what is kind of spread like it is kind of sown to everybody who wants it. I
Mm-hmm.
think the parity gap again rears its ugly head in that the aggressive men will
Mm-hmm.
take up more of these opportunities. So
Yeah.
I think I think this is my thought. I think that women only focus mentorship also will go a long way.
To build
With
the confidence.
yeah, yeah.
When you're in a space that has
Mm,
many men like that, sometimes you will question yourself a lot. There'll be a lot
mhm,
of self doubt. So just encouraging women to be able to be accommodated. They feel safe when they step into uh,
mm,
environments like that is also very important. That way, they are encouraged to, use their voices. You could
mhm,
be in a space that has, we could all be in these STEM courses and we're in the STEM environment and we are being software engineers, but if the spaces are not safe for us to use our voice, then you'll just be another person in STEM who is scared to say anything. I have the correct answer, but I can't speak because John, my coworker, believes he has a more appropriate answer to, a question. So I can't really use my voice. When I'm being asked, do you know what VS Code is? That is the type of situations that I'm thinking about. When I'm posting about my graduation and somebody is like, yeah, I bet she can't even, she doesn't even know what HTML is. That is the type of mindset that we want to change fast before we can set foot in these spaces and actually feel safe enough to use our voices, encourage other women to join us, and, bring in more in
yeah.
the space. Yeah.
But I hope you know what VS Code is.
Of course. Of course I do.
Yeah, and I think lastly, I think lastly, business leaders like have a lot more to do. Organizations really have a lot more to do to
Mm,
encourage diversity in leadership, because I think when it really gets to the top there, and when, for example, when it comes to promotions,
mm.
um you don't see a lot of women CEOs, not because they don't have the capability of becoming CEOs,
Qualifications, yeah.
yeah, and yeah, at the management level, but because
But
they
it's
get
that
overlooked.
biased.
Yeah,
Mm,
they get overlooked a lot when it
yeah.
comes to promotions and all. And
Mm,
so we don't have role models at the top where we can cite like 30 women CEOs who are
mm,
driving
yeah.
tech startups or tech companies in Africa, or
Mm-hmm,
even in Kenya.
mm,
And it means something when you see such a thing. So I think at the top there,
mm-hmm.
more needs to be done. Like as you are saying, having more women voices on some of the decision making tables at this company. So
Yes,
yeah,
that is true. And then
but
mhm,
mm,
even when we
but
speak,
yeah,
but uh
but again, then again, sijui mbona siku hizi I don't know why men feel
mhm.
like women are getting hired more. Are women getting hired more?
If women are getting hired more, you just told me a couple of minutes ago that statistically in 2023, in the STEM and especially the software engineering space, there's only a 25%
No,
representation of
no,
women. So
no, no.
if
This is
women
not in
were being
this is not in
hired
STEM.
more.
No, this is not in STEM. I'm just asking now in general.
Uh-huh.
In other careers, like outside of STEM, like
Mm.
let's say in finance, in like in other careers that are not as like let me say outside of STEM careers. Do you
Mm.
think that women are getting hired more?
I wouldn't say.
Yeah,
I
because
wouldn't.
there's that cry among
Uh-huh.
Kenyan men that today, if you walked into an interview
Yeah,
and you are competing against
a woman.
some pretty ladies,
Mm.
that you're likely to
Emphasis
get
on
rejected.
pretty, right?
Yeah,
Emphasis on pretty, yeah.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
ladies.
So it's not really about the, is it about the qualifications of their physique? Let's start there.
I don't know.
Exactly, right?
It is the bosses,
So
the recruiters who know.
exactly. So this could actually be a situation of the man could be more qualified if we are going as per the qualifications, but somebody on the recruitment board is an abuser. So they need to get, they want somebody to pay for this job using their body. And assuming they're not gay, this
Mm,
this demand will not go to the man. It will go
mm,
to this woman. So maybe for a position that this woman was legitimately qualified for, she
mm,
has to give herself in
yeah,
exchange for the position, which is very unfair. So it's
yeah,
not really a plus on women that they're getting sexually harassed to get jobs. It's actually it's a question on character and the foundations that we have that
yeah,
require women to give themselves in order for them to get job opportunities that most likely they are qualified for.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you're listening to this podcast, ALX, we are speaking about ALX, and ALX has a women-only cohort that is currently registering students. So, if you have a sister, if you have your
A
girlfriend, if you
friend,
have
a
a friend,
friend, an
yes,
auntie,
an auntie, even if
a
your mother is
daughter.
young, if your mother is young enough to enroll into a career into a software engineering program or a data science program or the other tech career, the other tracks that Salesforce administrator track. If they're
Mm,
old enough to register for these tracks, then encourage your women to apply for
yeah.
for this for this seat. So the seats are fully sponsored. You don't have to pay anything, and you can just go to it is
Dot
www.alx.com, and
alx.com.
then you'll find the link, the tab where you can apply for an all women cohort for ALX. So
Yeah.
I think the registration closes in on March 15th, so you have just a very few
Shoot
days,
window. Yeah.
yeah, from tomorrow to apply and be part of that cohort. So we really encourage women to apply and be part of that cohort, and to pursue career in tech. So do not, if you know somebody who is interested, if you know a lady who is interested in
Transition to
becoming,
tech.
transitioning to tech, then inform them of this opportunity. So
Mm.
I don't know whether there's anything that you have not covered in this interesting conversation. um
No, no, I think we have, there's more that can always be said
yeah,
on topics of
there's
faith, but due to the time constraints and other factors, we will have to stop it there for now and maybe pick it up later. This is International Women's Month. On 8th is International Women's Day. We hope that as time goes, we'll be, and the hashtag for this year's IWD is breaking the, it's the equity gap,
yeah.
and bridging the equity gap. So yeah,
That's the hashtag,
yeah, that's the hashtag
breaking the
for
equity
2020.
gap.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like an equity gap. They're trying to bridge the equity gap. That's their theme for 2023. So yeah,
oh,
we hope as time goes, we will be able to close this gap more and
yeah,
more and more. And one day, it will hopefully in a utopia, it will women and men will have equal opportunities
yes.
to things. Yeah. So
So,
yeah.
guys, it's been awesome having you as our audience for this podcast. It's been a nice run with you, Mal for this particular episode. Until we meet again in the next episode. And the next episode, we should actually purpose to interview a lady CEO
Oh, very
of a
nice. I am
startup, of a
looking forward to that.
fast rising startup. So that, yeah, we have hosted like three CEOs and a CEO now
Yeah,
of some very amazing startups in Africa. So guys, also we are doing a series. We're still doing a series on tech makers and
and
shakers.
shakers. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we are talking to CEOs, we are talking to COOs, we are talking to CIOs of some
CTOs.
of the amazing, CTOs of some of the amazing tech startups in Africa, just to tell the stories of some of these startups, so
Yeah,
that we get to know that actually Africa is there's something that is happening in Africa apart from
revolution. Yeah,
apart from dictatorships, apart from botched
corruption.
elections and corruption. Yeah, I think the startup scene in Africa is really, really amazing, and
Mm.
it is hotting up, and there's a very serious gap in telling our own stories. So you'll often hear about what startups in the US are doing, while just very close to you, there's a startup that is changing lives, that is making waves in the marketplace, and
Mhm.
you want to know
Telling a
about it.
different
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
By the way, I
Mhm.
realized that have you ever heard of Market Force?
Yes. Yeah.
Market Force, you've heard about it, yeah?
I have. Yes.
You've heard about kiosk.
Yeah.
You've
Kiosk
heard
like
about
the kibanda.
not Kibanda. Not the Kibanda. An Egyptian
Yeah.
an Egyptian startup that is just as big as Jumia. Actually, they do
Mhm.
the same thing that Twiga does, but they do that with
Nice.
the fast-moving consumer goods, right?
They're called kibanda.
Mal. They are not called Kibanda. They are called kiosk. K
Oh,
Y
oh, so
K
they.
Y O KYOSK.
Oh, okay. Did they get that from the African kibanda version kiosk or
But they're
what?
African.
Oh, yeah.
But they're
Okay, I
African.
mean the East African, the Swahili kiosk version.
No, kiosk is not an African word. Is it? Is it?
Yo, it is.
No, it's not. Kiosk. No,
Kiosk.
kiosk is not. It's not Kiswahili. I don't think it's Kiswahili.
Okay, we will have to check that out. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What
So
is the
there's an
origin
Egyptian
of
farm.
kiosk?
There's
Uh-huh.
an Egyptian farm that is operating here in Kenya. I don't know whether it's Egyptian or it's South African, but there's
Mhm.
an Egyptian that is a farm called Kiosk that is moving like billions of shillings. Like if you wanted goods to come to your wholesale operation,
Uh,
your retail, they do it in bulk. So you don't have to incur the cost for transportation, which is
Shipping and all
yeah, the
that.
logistics cost. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they do.
Okay.
There's a company called Copia. There's a company there's so many of these, by the way, that someday we'll just get to sit down with their CEOs and their founders and kind of get the thought process that informed the formation of some of these amazing companies, like telling African stories the African way. So that is what we are doing at Specia Tech with Mal Mayenga, and
Yes.
you as the audience. Share this podcast, follow us on Spotify, and share, subscribe. We are also on Google Podcasts, so subscribe, and we are also on Apple Podcasts. You can rate
Mm.
us 5 stars. We want to become the best podcast in Africa,
Amen.
and yeah, and we will.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for being in this episode, and I think that's a wrap from both of us, and it's a bye bye for me.
Yeah. Kiosk its origin is from Persia and French.
Hmm.
Just to put it
Yeah, I
out there.
told you. I
Yeah.
told you.
It's not actually East African. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
Bye
bye
bye,
bye,
guys.
guys.
It's been lovely having you and see you on the next episode.
Yeah, bye.